Good morning. Yet another beautiful day here in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Today I have a very interesting topic for you. I am currently on my way to Cancun to pick up my tax ID number for a new business that I started. So I thought I would talk a little bit about the process of starting a business in Mexico, and also how to invest in real estate, because that's basically what I'm doing with my new business and my experience going through the process. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned and I'll tell you all about it.
Our lives and the world that we live in is nothing but an enormous board game of life. And no matter who you are or where you live, you're already in the game, competing with other players for resources, money, food, and opportunities. And the great news is that all you need to do to turn this game into your own personal success is to educate yourself on what other successful players are doing to gain a competitive advantage. So if you learn what's going on, if you learn how the game works, you will eventually outsmart corporations, governments, and other players. So you can establish the kind of life, happiness, and freedom that you deserve. And these videos, they're all about strategies on how you can start to master your game. So I would encourage you to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel so we can take your game to the next level. I'm Kim Park and this is Board Game of Life.
Alright, so first of all, if you imagine that you're playing a board game like Monopoly, obviously it makes sense to require assets in different places and spread out and diversify, right? To have options, to have alternatives, and being able to have multiple streams of income. And if you think of Mexico as one of those squares or one of those places where you can set up a business or have assets or yield producing assets, it makes a lot of sense to start a business where you can get those kinds of incomes and multiple streams of incomes, right? So in Mexico, it's quite easy to start a company. The problem is that it takes some time. I'm used to, in Scandinavia, where I was raised and I started numerous businesses, you can go online and you can start a business in 5 or 10 minutes by yourself. It's automated, it's online, everything is done very easily and quickly. Here in Mexico, it's easy to start a company, but it takes time. It takes about 2-3 months for the government to approve the process and actually get your company up and running. And you can do it all by yourself. Obviously, you have the language barrier, so you have to go through that. If you know Spanish, obviously it helps, but if you don't, I highly recommend that you use a notary. And if you compare a notary in Mexico to, for example, in the United States, where anybody with a stamp and a smile can have a notary and approve documents, right? But here in Mexico, notaries are more like arms of the government. They are government approved offices that has more weight to it. So when they stamp and approve documents, it's basically government approved. So that's the difference with notaries here in Mexico. So whatever you do here, if you're gonna buy something, if you're gonna invest, or if you're gonna start a business, the notary has to approve, stamp, and sign these documents anyway. So I thought I went to these notaries and looked around for their services and looked up what I needed. So I used the notary to start my business. And obviously down here the services, the manpower is quite cheap, so I thought I'd save some time and energy using a notary to start my business. So that's what I did. And basically what you do first, you pick names. You have to have 3 or 4 alternatives when it comes to the name for your company. So you send that in through the notary and they look it up, and if one of the names is taken, then they go down the list to the second and the third and the fourth and so on. So it makes a lot of sense to have alternatives, right? So once you have your name picked, they actually start the process, and it's not a very expensive process. They charge about 20,000 pesos for the whole process of starting a company, which is about $1,000, so it's not that bad. And after the 2-3 months, once the company is up and running, you need to collect your tax ID number, which is called RFC. And the RFC number is something that you use all the time. So when you make purchases and you want like a bill for your company, it's called factura down here. You always need your RFC. So you wanna get that, and that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna go and collect my RFC in Cancun, and once the company is up and running, you can pretty much do anything like an LLC. It's like a company that is, responsible. It's like a physical person. Here it's called persona física, and basically with your company you can sell, rent, do business, trade, import, export, whatever. And this is like a description that you will get with your company that tells you exactly what you can and cannot do. But basically it's a very wide range of things you can do. It's only if you're gonna do very, very specific odd activities that you need to apply for other types of activities that you can do with your company. But once you have your company, you can start to get on with your business. And if you're gonna invest in real estate like I did, I just closed recently on a property that I bought, and I put this property into my company, because you have basically 3 alternatives when you buy real estate in Mexico. The first one is that you can buy it and own it by yourself, and you can actually do that as a foreigner, but you cannot own real estate within 50 kilometers of any border, land border, or the ocean. Which means that if you live in a state like Quintana Roo, where I'm right now, you cannot own real estate because it's within 50 kilometers of the ocean. So if you are a foreigner that wants to buy properties close to the ocean or close to the border, you need to buy it through an entity, either a company, or you can buy it through a bank trust. A bank trust here is called fideicomiso, and fideicomiso, it's basically just a trust where you can hold your real estate, and it's very easy to set up. The problem there is that if you're going to run a business, let's say you're going to have a property that where you're going to rent out and have like a yield and a rental income, you can't deduct and run a business with it. So if you are a private person and just going to buy like a vacation home, of course you can buy with a fideicomiso, with a bank trust. A lot of people do that. Most tourists actually do that because they're gonna own it and just live and use it by themselves. And if you are a business owner that's gonna run the property like a business, or you're gonna rent out as an Airbnb, or if you're gonna scale and make a hotel or whatever you're gonna do, then you have to, or you should put your real estate into a company, a Mexican company. And like I said, it's takes a little bit more time to start the company, but it's definitely worth it because you can run it like a proper business. You can deduct and you can do all these things, right? And the process of buying real estate is quite nice. Here you can get really good prices. I mean, if you look at the Western countries, Europe and North America, Australia, if you look at the recent years, we had, I mean, this boom basically since I was born in the late 70s. The real estate has just gone up and up and up and up and up. And if you look here in Mexico, the market is a little bit different because here you have a cash market. In the Western countries, we're used to a credit market where everybody's borrowing money to buy real estate. You have to go through banks and you have to put maybe 20, 30, or if you're lucky, just 5 or 10% down by yourself. Then you borrow the rest from the bank. And you have to repay your mortgage over X amount of years. But here in Mexico, it's basically a cash market because the interest rates here are north of 10%, which means that very few people want to borrow money because it doesn't make sense. I mean, who wants to pay 10 or even more percent interest rate, right? So here, families, they scrape together money together, they go together and buy a house, or if they have money, they just put together money and buy it cash. So the market here is actually a little bit more stable, because if you look at any downturn or recession or market crash, what happens when people have mortgages? Obviously the interest rates goes up and it's harder for them to service their mortgage, which means that you're gonna see a real estate crash. But here it's actually a little bit more stable because you don't have as many people who borrow money, so they can actually sustain a market crash a lot better because they don't have all this debt to service, right? Anyway, when you buy real estate here, it's very important that you find a good broker. Most brokers here, they charge a lot of money. So if you can find a good broker that charges humane level of commission, that's good. Or even better, if you can buy directly from the owner, that's even better because you're going to save on the commissions. But be very careful because you need a lawyer, a real estate lawyer to go through the papers. You need to know what you're doing, and if the seller is very experienced and he has low integrity, maybe he's trying to rip you off or do something. So it's very important that you know, either you get a good broker, or if you know what you're doing, or if you get a good real estate lawyer who can help you out. So when you buy real estate, like I did, to start a business where you're going to rent out and actually get a good yield, it's very important to maximize the profits compared to your expenses. Obviously, the problem is that most people, when they buy a vacation home, they just think about, they let their emotions take over and they let them decide what they're going to buy. But if you're going to buy something that's going to produce a yield, it's very important for you to maximize the profits per square meter. And what I did was that I bought a piece of real estate, a building. I bought a whole building, 3 floors and a rooftop, and it was already built, but the rooftop was not developed. So that's what I'm doing right now. I put together a team of construction workers. It's actually my first time I'm managing a construction team here in Mexico, so it's, believe me, it's a new experience. But when you have a piece of real estate, it's very important that you maximize and you look at the layout, how you can, let's say you're gonna build new rooms, or if you're gonna, I'm gonna rent out as an Airbnb, hostel style. So I'm gonna have a lot of beds. So I was looking at the layout of the building and each floor, and I was looking, okay, how many beds can I get into each room rooms, and do I want to build, maybe I want to build more rooms and more walls and dividers, right? So that's what I'm doing currently. So think about how you can maximize the profits. I mean, either if you're gonna have apartments, or if you're gonna have hostels or beds or real estate, whatever you're gonna rent out, whatever you're gonna do with your real estate business, it's very important that you maximize your profits so you can get a better return compared to what you paid for your real estate. But basically, it's very doable to get a very good return. When I was investing in real estate back in Norway, investing in real estate since 2003 in Norway, and I was used to having a 7 or 8% return annually in Norway, and I thought that was a pretty decent return, and I was happy with that. But when I moved here to Mexico 2 years ago, I started realizing that here in Mexico, in tourist hotspots where I'm located in Playa del Carmen, you can basically get between, it's not uncommon to get 15, 20, sometimes up to 30% return annually if you are planning your real estate investment properly. You can get a really, really good return, and that's unheard of. I mean, back in Norway, that's impossible. The interesting thing about the piece of real estate that I bought now is that since I'm running it as a hostel, I was calculating the return, and it's just insane what you can do when you have bunk beds and you are running your real estate business as like I will do, and you have bunk beds, you have 2 levels of beds, and you are jamming in a lot of beds in each rooms, and you're really utilizing each square meter and get as many clients in as possible. I'm doing it budget style, but even though I'm renting out really, really cheap beds, it's insane how high yields I'm getting. And I've been calculating different scenarios like low-balling and high-balling and averaging, and depending on how many clients, how full I can, have my hostel. But it's insane. I can get like 100 or 200, or if I really maximize and get up to 300 or 400% return. So basically, I buy this piece of real estate and I'm renovating it. And even though I have all these expenses, I can actually get the whole real estate back in 1 year. The whole thing, 100% yield. If I'm doing poorly. If I'm doing well, I can actually get back 2 or 3 pieces of real estate in 1 single year. Obviously, that's not going to happen the first year. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But I mean, the returns you can get down here in a hotspot, in a tourist hotspot like this in Playa del Carmen, is just insane compared to a normal city or other areas. So it's very interesting if you're planning your real estate investments properly. Here in Mexico, you can make extreme returns. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. I mean, investing in real estate makes a lot of sense in Mexico. If you want to move to Mexico, I have another video explaining how you can require permanent residency down here. Obviously, it helps if you're going to spend any amount of time here, especially if you're going to run a business or if you're going to do any activity or project here in Mexico. I think Mexico is good for investment. It's good for lifestyle. I mean, you have such nice weather, you have low price levels, you have white beaches, you have really nice people, very good investment opportunities. So it makes a lot of sense to plant a flag here in Mexico. So check that video out. And if you are interested in getting help setting up permanent residence in Mexico, investing in properties, or starting a company, I would be happy to assist you. And just reach out. I will leave a link in the description below. You can book a call with me, and I will be happy to point you in the right directions. So I'm gonna focus on my driving now, but if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Remember to give the video a like, share it with a friend, and I will be looking forward to see you on the next video.